Hello, welcome to the Armchair Expert. I'm Dax Shepard, and today we're going to speak with Bob Mervak. Bob Mervak is my wife Kristen Bell's best childhood friend, or one of her best childhood friends. And we came to know each other about 10 years ago through Kristen, and I discovered quickly that Bob is a musical genius, a phenom. And he and Kristen used to perform together in high school for hire at funerals, weddings, all kinds of weird stuff. You could probably get them out to just about any event for about $100. And I then worked with Bob on the movie Hit and Run, which I made in 2012. And he's just a genuinely wonderful person. And I thought he might be of interest to all of you because he is special and gifted. And we get to hear him sing and play the piano. And it's really fun.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Is it one of those steel that I'm thinking of?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like this old industrial, but it was a war microphone.
So you're rolling? Okay. Welcome to the Armchair Expert. I have a very fun surprise for myself and for you. My friend Bob Mervak is here from Detroit, Michigan. He was visiting, and so I'm forcing him to do this. He's going to play a song for us right out of the gates. He's too modest to admit this, but he has a very bad cold. I might even call it a flu, and he's going to push through that for our auditory enjoyment. He's going to play a song that I requested, and without further ado, Bob, whenever you're ready to sink your dinky.
I'm not too proud to say I have the flu.
Okay.
Hey little girl, is your daddy home? Did he go away and leave you all alone? I got a bad desire. I'm on fire. Tell me little girl, is he good to you? And can he do to you the things that I do? Oh no, I can take you high. On fire. Sometimes it's like someone took a knife, baby, edgy and dull, cut a 6-inch valley through the middle of my skull. At night I wake up with the sheets soaking wet and a freight train running through the middle of my head, and you can cool my desire. I'm on fire. Sometimes it's like someone took a knife, baby, edgy and dull, and cut a 6-inch valley through the middle of my skull. At night I wake up with the sheets soaking wet and a freight train running through the middle of my head, and you can cool my desire.
my eyes. Totally welled up. Which only happens to me when I see Kristen sing, and then I think you.
She made me cry when she sang one time.
Right?
She does. She's got a thing,
Oh,
man.
well, I think too, like you and I share this, we love her. And so you can't help but be like so proud of her when she does this thing she can do so well. There's something so beautiful about it.
For sure. Yeah, right. And she doesn't do it too often.
No.
I've always the whole time since all her success, I've always kind of wondered, like, when are you going to do more with that thing, with a secret weapon, man?
And I've been with her for 10 and a half years. I've probably seen her sing live 7 or 8 times. And every time just completely uncontrollable, just waterworks.
Really?
Yeah. I don't get so far as to like vocally be sobbing because I haven't done that since I was about 7.
Right.
But I am definitely welled up.
Does she get nervous about it?
Oh, she totally is nervous about it. You know her. And it's not something she would do for me at home. I mean, she sings around the house, but never like, 100% go for it.
Right.
And I guess to the stakes of being on stage and all that, just amplify the whole experience. But as I just said, the reason you love her too is I know you because you and Kristen were childhood best friends.
Old buddies.
Is that accurate to say? What age did you meet?
I would say so. She was a year behind me, so we met in the 10th grade, and she was, and we hung a little bit in high school, but honestly, it wasn't until she went off to college, I think. I had this really jealous girlfriend in high school.
Right. Yes, I've heard.
Who didn't want me to? Have you heard of her?
Absolutely.
She didn't want me to hang out with Kristen too much, and so
and first, I think probably she had some issues, and then secondly, also an intimidating best friend for your boyfriend to have probably in high school. I would think
that's
She's
true.
Super cute, and you guys performed a ton together. That's not something you and your girlfriend were doing. I can't imagine. She didn't
No,
sing,
not
did
really.
she?
As a matter of fact, Kristen did a post about me when she went on the Harry Connick show, and on Instagram, and said, "Hey, this one's for you," and because I idolized Harry Connick Jr.
Yeah.
And she said, my friend and I used to get together and sing songs in high school, and I don't usually scroll through the comments, but I did happen to see this one comment, and this one guy said, "Yeah, your best friend was trying to get out of the friend zone." Crack me up, man.
I think I've accused you of that prior to
Really?
Oh, I mean,
How do you know she's not trying to get out of the friend zone?
well, okay, yeah, sure. As I came to know you more, you guys really don't have an attraction. But my argument to her was, because I think pretty black and white about these male-female issues to a fault. But,
So do I, and that's the thing, and it's unconventional. But I'm like, if you want to go with it,
but
I'm
look,
I'm just following your lead.
I'm Bob. You're you. We're in high school together. We perform all the time together. How on earth did Bob not want to have sex with you? I found that almost impossible to believe. But again, as I came to know you much better,
I didn't deny anything like that.
I do. Okay, well, yeah. All right. Let's just say the base levels you would have probably had sex with anyone attractive.
I was in high school for Christ's
Yes,
sake.
of course. But you weren't actively preoccupied with trying to bed her.
No.
To my knowledge.
Is this why you have me on here?
This would be great if we expose. By the way, I could give a shit less if you had been trying to bed her. Yeah, so you guys were really close in high school. And a couple of things that I found very humorous about your history was that you guys used to perform at funerals, right? Weddings and funerals.
Kristen says that, but I do remember that. I don't particularly.
By the way,
remember.
I'm prepared for you to call bullshit on almost every story.
No,
that
sounds
memory,
accurate.
But,
She might remember funerals better than me.
Right.
But
I hope there were some funerals.
I know
in
we
the
did,
mix.
because we went to Catholic school, so there was a lot of church
stuff.
gigs to be had. I remember her baby barrettes. I had a crush on her, and she
okay,
and
good.
then I started dating the jealous girlfriend.
Right. Let's call her.
And it was while
Linda.
Kristen was out of town.
Uh-huh.
And I think she went out of town with her family for a week, and then the girlfriend moved in.
Okay.
And
I've had a few things like that in my high school years. Where I was like
fate,
pining
though.
for a girl, and she went out of town for like 48 hours, and I met someone
so you're
else.
like, yeah, right. No,
So I think the attention span of a fruit fly.
Right.
I was like, I would have killed for this gal, but she's in northern Michigan. She's in Marquette. There's no way I can.
it's Muskegon. I got to run to Muskegon.
Yeah,
real quick.
prepare
I'll
for
be
a
right
lot
back.
of Michigan jokes that no one will get
Right,
because we're
yeah.
all from Michigan.
Yeah, right. Fretters,
Yeah, exit 69, Big Beaver.
Fretters, and ABC Warehouse. And
I like to think ABC Warehouse was a national chain, but so you guys meet, and then is it aside from the barrettes, do you guys immediately start talking about music?
we were in musical together at some point.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that must
you
have
met
been
under
it.
the guise. Of,
I can't really remember the first time we talked or anything like that. I remember girls kind of being. I think they were kind of jealous, and I remember they were saying some shit. Can I say? I can say this is a podcast. We can say whatever
You
we want.
can. You can say shit. We cap it at shit.
All right. Okay.
If you want to say asshole, we prefer you say a-hole.
Can I say Earl Coitus?
You can say Earl Coitus, yeah, because that's the scientific.
They were talking some poop about Kristen's barrettes.
Okay,
about
right.
their, like who's this girl wearing baby barrettes, and like because it was super hip at the time. But and so I think maybe I was kind of standoffish for a while because girls were jealous of her. So she was sort of like, we should be talking to this poser or something like that. I don't know what the deal is, but everybody was jealous of her. I think girls felt very threatened by Kristen Bell.
Oh, see, and that's refreshing to hear because, again, I only hear everything through her filter, and we are so diametrically opposed in general that when she says stuff that seems implausible to me, I go, well, maybe that is how it worked at Catholic school, right? But I do find it hard to believe that she would have been pretty and super talented, and people would have just been so supportive of that in high school. It seems a little bit threatening.
No, yeah, I would think so. I don't think I suffered that in high school.
You didn't,
because I'm not super good looking.
You're a 9,
kind of,
whereas she's a 10.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a mutant.
No.
What do mutants go through in high school usually?
Well, usually they get, if we're to believe the movies, they get pissed at one point and then they destroy the cafeteria and then they got to get whisked away to like a special powers school.
Right. I was kind of a Willow in high school. What is Willow usually?
Willow the little person from the movie?
It's Warwick Davies' big breakup.
I'm always astounded by your knowledge of actors' names.
She was homecoming queen, right? Or prom
Warwick
queen?
Davies?
Yeah. Yep.
Diane Warwick.
What? I don't remember.
Kristen.
This is terrible that I can't remember.
There's a picture of her.
At least in the
floating
court.
around.
She was at least on
Probably,
the court,
At
probably.
least on the court.
Was she number 1? I don't know.
I think you got to get nominated to be on that, though. So people have to like you.
Yeah. If you make it on the court, you've clearly you've jumped over a lot of hurdles. If I find out she wasn't number 1, though, I think I do need to rethink the whole
need a
relationship.
divorce. Yeah.
When did you start playing music, Bob?
When I was a kid, my mom started me on piano. We had a piano in the house. And
What is a kid? 6 years old?
5.
Five?
That's as far as I can remember. I remember she taught me Sentimental Journey. She knew a little bit. I was like, and that was the song we danced to. My mom and I danced to at my wedding, actually.
And is it something that you liked right away or something you
loved it,
felt?
man.
Oh, you did?
I
It didn't
think
feel
I
like
loved-
homework to you, the practicing and everything?
No, practicing always feels like homework to me a little bit, actually. I think it was more, or the practicing that I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Practicing the technique and practicing, but just sitting down and jamming.
Are either of your parents musicians?
My dad plays the guitar a little bit.
Uh-huh.
He was in a band in high school. He was in a band called the Jesters
Of course.
in college.
Sure.
And,
Super sweet in the 60s.
Yeah, they probably did Monkees covers or something like that. I don't know. And my mom sang in choirs and stuff. My mom's claim to fame was she got a voice lesson with Duke Ellington because she sang in this.
Do you believe that?
I
don't. I
do.
I know you believe she said that.
I did until you
I'm
just said, do you believe that?
Right. Because my mom, God bless her, she's my number 1 lady. But there are some stories as I've gotten older, I'm like, could that have really happened? So I'm just curious, what are the odds your mom really vocal trained with Duke Ellington? It's
my
a
mom is
big
full
claim.
of shit.
Well, another thing about if you're from Michigan, like we both are, everyone knows someone who was in Bob Seger's band, or claims to have been in Bob Seger's band at some point.
Yeah.
And it's just after you meet the 20th person who's been in Bob Seger's band, it just gets a little suspicious.
Right. Our landlord was Drew Abbott, who was the original guitarist of the Silver Bullet Band.
Oh, really?
No
and
joke.
they all grew up in Birmingham, right?
They did, yeah.
Again, I had a stepdad who claimed he played their prom, that they were classmates and peers. And
I've met like
and
6
now I don't know
stepdads that have said that.
Specifically stepdads.
Like the prom.
Yeah, it's a real step. And then this is totally off topic, but then my best childhood friend Aaron Weekly, he had a stepdad. I mean, they never actually wed, but he claimed he struck out Kirk Gibson in Little League. So I think there's all these regional fucking lies that are pretty common. I think it was
it's
Kurt.
bumming me out because you're wiping all these things off the list of things I believe.
Well, let's just assume for the time being that she did train with Duke Ellington. How did that even come about?
She was singing in a choir at U of D called the Don Large Chorus, and Don Large was kind of he was kind of like the choral guru of Detroit, which is like the perfect way to be a winner and a loser all at the same time.
Sure.
And and he was asked to do a gospel concert, or he was asked to supply the choir for a gospel concert that Duke Ellington was doing at
Okay, so
Hall.
this is getting more and more plausible.
Yeah, so and she sang in the Don Large chorus, and so she
and
got
he
to
pulled her
sing,
aside and said, "You're sharp here, you're flat here, you're perfect here."
I think each kid got like 5 minutes. with
Oh,
him or
that's
something
cool.
Like that. So it's nothing. It's not super brag worthy, but it is like the fact that you were in the same room with Duke Ellington,
Yeah,
who's arguably one of the top 5 musicians
and
in
I
the 20th
think
century.
I'm just theorizing now, but I do think when people meet people like that, like a Duke Ellington in their childhood, somehow it does break a barrier where you go like, oh, I've actually seen this person in 3D. I've touched them. So this is something that's possible.
Yeah.
Like I hear a lot of stories of successful people who did have a run-in with somebody they idolized early on, and then somehow realizing they occupied the same time and space as this person made the goal maybe more attainable. So are you the type of kid, because in my experience, the kids in my school that were like virtuosos at guitar, they were pretty reclusive, because acquiring that talent requires you sit in your room by yourself and get weird, right?
Yeah.
Were you doing that? Were you that kid?
I was doing it. I'm one of 6 kids, so we had people all over the house.
And you're a middle child.
So it was hard to get alone. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm the third of 6 kids. So it was hard to get alone. So I would do it with them all around. And I would get told to stop a lot of the time because it gets
I wonder
weird
if that
in there,
helps
man.
though, building up some kind of confidence as
In
far
like
as
getting vulnerable.
performing in front of people,
Right.
Simply because it was the
Probably.
only way you could prove.
Yeah,
play.
I was. Yeah, right.
And they probably hated it.
Right,
'Cause
like if you had to
siblings
get-
are so fucking mean to each other. They were probably saying the worst things that people
No,
could
it was
say
my
to you.
mom that was the worst.
Oh,
It would drive her
really?
nuts.
Oh, okay.
And she was the one who was pushing me to learn the most. But she'd be in the kitchen. She's like, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah,
man.
I
I
would-
think, but with 5 other kids running around and stuff too. Like if you're never naked alone, you're gonna get pretty comfortable being naked in front of people. So.
That's right. Were you guys were you also nude in front of each other a lot as siblings? I ask this sincerely because my brother and I never were.
We were.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
weird, man. Like we'd get out of the bathtub, and I think we could have used some direction, some parenting in that area and stuff. Because like the babysitter would come over and be like, "Hey,
And everyone was just nude.
everyone."
I can tell you probably the weirdest moment my brother and I ever shared was he had beat me up daily my entire life because he's 5 years older than me. And then we hadn't fought for a while because he was now 19 and I was 14 and he had moved out. But he was kind of house sitting when my mom was out of town. And it was the morning of our big basketball game, our crosstown rival basketball game. So I was like playing Metallica upstairs. He's downstairs with his girlfriend. Apparently they're sleeping nude because he comes upstairs in a towel to my bedroom and he says, "You got to fucking turn that down." And now I'm like, you're not my boss anymore, And, one thing leads to another. We get in this huge fight and his towel comes off in the middle of the fight. So he's bare naked and I'm wearing a suit because when we had away games in basketball, you had to wear a suit to school. So I'm fighting in a full suit and he's bare naked. And I remember like getting distracted by seeing his penis and his pubic hair and stuff. And then I ultimately won that fight, which was the first time I ever beat him. And it was such a great way to go into this very important basketball game. And anyways, he was nude, and then I finally let him up from the bed because it had ended on my water bed. I had pinned him on my water bed, and then I let him up, and he had to get up bare naked, and then he had to cross the room to get the towel and put it back on him.
Right.
As he was putting his towel back on, he said, "You know who won." Even though it was very clear who won. But whatever. Yeah, I just remember feeling very awkward about the fact that my brother was naked in front of me. Again, because we didn't have a dad in the
Could have been
house,
a
so we weren't
disadvantage for
seeing
either of you.
I wasn't seeing like full-grown men naked,
Right.
Like, as I guess most boys do.
It
who
would
have a
be
dad in the
interesting though
house.
to be like I have got to beat up this guy naked, but the other guy's like, I got to beat up this naked guy. So it's kind of who is it worse for?
Yeah, I don't think it was great for either of us.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
But, the compliment means nothing coming from me because I really have no musical expertise. But by my estimation, you are a musical genius. There have been numerous times you would visit and I heard you sing and I thought you were just incredible. And you'd be playing in our living room sometimes just by yourself and I'd be eavesdropping and I always loved it. And then when I did Hit and Run, I asked you, hey, could you reinterpret the song Hot Rod Lincoln, right?
Yeah, that was a good moment.
Yeah.
I felt good about that.
Yeah. And I just kind of asked you out of the blue. You were in Michigan, like, hey, is there any way to make Hot Rod Lincoln cool? And you sent me like 3 versions, and then one version, it just blew my fucking mind.
We went way left, man.
Yes, it was so great. You don't remember it, do you?
Of course. No, I don't remember. I don't remember the words. I remember something like...
Yeah, that's cool.
I remember that. I remember that stuff. But
you made this super cool version of Hot Rod Lincoln, and then we cut an early trailer of the movie to that song, and then we took that iPad around, and that's how we sold it internationally. It was so inspired and awesome. And then based on that, I asked you if you would score the movie, which you had never done. And this was rife for disaster because I had not directed a movie where I had directed one other movie, but there was no score in the movie.
Nor had I done a score yet.
Nor had you done a score. So I don't have the tools to communicate with you what I need. I also don't have the musical vocabulary. So I can only say to you, like, I kind of want it like out of sight, but also like, Willy Wonka. And then I want this. For me, it's a very hard moment in the movie making process because I don't speak the language. I can talk to actors, I can talk to a cinematographer. But
I mean, that's 98% of the gig half the time. And when somebody speaks, and you can get lost in the language anyway.
Yeah. But so then you and I set out on this project to score Hit and Run, which was a really, really fun process.
Totally.
And how was it from your vantage point?
I was excited about it, and I was nervous about it. And I remember you said, "Hey, man, I loved what you did with Hot Rod Lincoln, and I'd love you to take a crack at the whole thing." And I was like, "Man, of course, yes." And like nobody wants to hear, "Man, that's going to be hard. I'm not ready for that." And so, so I got on the phone and called my buddy Colton from Philly, and he came and lived with me for 2 weeks and recorded everything. And we just
he had some actual technical training. In movie scoring specifically,
he's
right?
A killer engineer, and he went to UCLA, I think, for his graduate work in film composing. And he's a killer.
What a lucky thing that you happen to know him, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of guys like that, a lot of engineers, because my engineering is so mediocre that I kind of need to have them around and stuff. And,
right.
But Colton is Colton's maybe the best engineer I know. He's amazing.
And he's
so unsuspecting about it. He just gets in there and he does it. And he got a better mix in my living room than anything I've ever heard. In fact, we sent over Waltz of Hate. Yeah.
That's my favorite thing in the movie.
Yeah. I really like that.
Yeah.
And
if you've seen Hit and Run, this is the moment where Bradley drags a guy along the sidewalk with a leash.
We had
and
my friend came in and played drums on that, and he was black, and I was like, I showed him the scene, and I was like, I can't show you the scene.
You know what's funny about that scene is I don't think I've heard too much criticism of that, but I did. Or my mother-in-law on Parenthood, the woman who is playing my mother-in-law, who I came to have just the greatest relationship with, and she, felt comfortable enough to say to me, it's a little dicey that you basically lynch a black guy. Right. Bradley puts a leash around the guy's neck.
It wasn't a hate crime.
Well, here was my defense of the whole thing was. That scene had been written because I stole it. I stole that scene piecemeal from a TV show I had written. And in the TV show, it was a white guy. It was set in North Carolina, and he had like one of those bright orange tank tops. These weightlifter dudes you see that are like over the hill. So in my mind, it was always going to be a white guy. So I write the scene with a white guy. I'm not thinking of any of the implications of putting something around someone's neck. And I'm not thinking of the lynching correlation. Mm-hmm. So I get to the moment where I've got to now cast this role. Well, I need a guy that's humongous who can also jump in the air 6 feet in the air and then fall on his back, right? So my stunt coordinator says, "Oh my God, I have the perfect guy for you. The Duffy brothers, have you ever heard of these guys? They're humongous and they're super athletic and they're stunt guys and they can act." So I auditioned one of them in a hotel room. I applaud this guy. He had to come in the weirdest circumstance of fucking audition in my hotel room while we were shooting. And he was great. And I was so excited to give him that part. Again, at no point am I thinking of any racial implications of this. But then when you do see the movie, it's very easy to draw that kind of conclusion. And you know,
We
my
tried a
defense
lot.
is I would have rather have hired that guy who earned that role and whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
You can think what you think, and I can live with that.
I didn't think anything of it, but I was afraid to show it to a black guy.
Exactly,
but,
which is very fair.
Right. We tried a lot of different stuff with that, and we tried a lot of goofy stuff. And there are moments where I have this on video somewhere where you hear us just kind of like keeling over and
Laughing.
laughter, and because we tried stuff like.
Yeah,
like that kind of thing where like this guy's getting strangled and dragged down the street.
Yeah.
He's like an early.
That would have left
American
me
stride.
with no defense of. I think that would have tipped the
I
scale.
thought about
into-
sending it to you. I was like, I think he's too stressed to deal with this, man.
Yeah.
But we sent that track over to your engineer at the time, and he was so impressed. But he was like, "Where'd you record this? What mics did you use? Blah blah blah." And I was like, "This mic in my living room," and that's the kind of stuff Colton, the sound engineer, that's the kind of stuff he can do. I mean, he can just take.
Yeah.
He can take a lemon of a
The
room.
percussion in particular in that song
It's
is
killer.
off the charts. It's
It's
so
great.
great. And we ended up reusing it. I think we used it over the title sequence.
It was also used. The Detroit Police Department got a hold of that movie, and they really liked that song, and they used it. There was this viral YouTube series of police departments all over the country doing The Running Man.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, and I got presented an award from the Detroit Chief of Police. And
Oh,
stuff
you
like that.
did?
He's kind of a badass. I really
Oh,
like him.
wow. You're
And,
virtually on the department now.
Yeah, it was really cool, and they loved it, man. They thought it was the greatest thing. So.
Yeah. So that was a very fun experience for us. And then you also made a really cool version of the Chips theme song. Early on, I said, "Can you kind of do that? Can you do the Bob Mervak magic and make this Chip song?" You made that Chip song. We then found out that the writing was
Oh, right.
500. They wanted $500,000 for that.
Yikes.
And then ultimately, I don't know how awkward you felt about it, but I was in a very awkward position of you had scored Hit and Run with my friend Julian Wass, who also did some songs for it. And as happens when you do a studio movie, they basically say, here's a list of 12 people you can have compose the movie.
Right.
You know, they've done movies for us in the past, and so go ahead and familiarize yourself with them, and you get to pick one, but that's it. You don't get to bring your composer. So I ultimately felt very guilty that I wasn't then able to offer you that job.
Did you feel guilty about it?
I felt terrible about that. I felt terrible about that. I felt terrible about not being able to use my editor from Hit and Run.
Oh,
who-
yeah.
who
No,
I loved.
I remember you
Keith.
were bummed about that.
That one's even sadder because I had gone in there and they said, "Do you have an editor?" I said, "Yes, Keith." And they said, "Great." And then they did not tell me until 2 days before we started shooting, "Oh, by the way, you can't have Keith. He's not done any movies for us, and so you need to pick from this list." So I actually had to call Keith and say, "This job I told you have
Right.
and now don't have," which
Right.
was fucking heartbreaking. I hated it.
I get it. I mean, I want to use my own dudes for everything. Everybody wants to. I mean, that's just more of a corporate version of using your own dudes. Everybody wants to use their own dudes.
Look, I can make their argument or I can make mine. And their argument is very simple. They're shelling out $25 million. They've been fucked royally in the past, and they have a bunch of people that have delivered for them in the past. So there's only so much risk they're willing to
Right.
take on. And so you end up fighting other battles, and you're going to win. If there's 20 battles, you're going to win maybe 3 of them. So you got to pick which ones. And usually it's going to be cast. You're going to fight for an actor they don't want. You're going to spend a lot of capital doing that. And then you can't call them an hour later and go, "I'm not doing the movie without Bob Mervak."
Right.
So
Right, sure.
it is very stressful to have not been able to bring everyone who I loved working with on Hit and Run. I got to bring some people, but I didn't get to bring everyone. And that was,
Yeah.
I met a lot of great people too. So that was really cool. And so you and Kristen are performing in high school, and you guys are making money, right? You're getting paid.
Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
whatever it was, $50 a service or something like that. Man, in high school in the 90s, $50.
Yeah, that's a whole weekend
Killer.
of good time.
With your hot wife.
Yeah.
No.
With your super hot wife I never wanted to have sex with. And when do you start when do you start loading up enough gigs where you go, "Oh, I'm going to be able to do this professionally"?
It's a good question. I think I started looking at music schools halfway through high school or something. And I wanted to do that whole thing.
And you got into one in New York, but you didn't go. Is that
I got into
do
one
I
in
have that right?
Boston. I got into Berkeley
Okay.
in Boston. Got a partial scholarship to Berkeley. And auditioned for that. I think at the time it was $30,000 a year. My parents didn't have the other $25,000, and
Right. Boy, they really meant partial when they said partial. They were only going to pay $5,000.
Yeah, they
of
would
it.
pay $5,000.
Okay,
Like I think I kind of biffed that audition.
Word other than. Oh, really?
I wanted to study jazz. I don't even think Berkeley. I don't know if Berkeley does really any classical concert, but that was all I had done leading up to that. And I think I actually went into this jazz audition and played a Chopin etude. And no, I think I did all right. I got $5,000. So
right.
only got $5,000. You screwed up.
What is that, like a 16% scholarship? I'm not even
I don't know.
sure what the numbers are there.
I don't
Was
think
it
I had any-
stressful as hell to audition?
I was really nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really nervous. And I don't think I knew what I wanted to do. I still don't think I know what I want to do. So I ended up going into jazz at Wayne State in Detroit. And I had kind of this mentor there who kind of straightened me out with jazz theory and harmony. And I knew that I loved that harmony. And I didn't know how to make it happen.
Uh-huh.
And I had this teacher.
Did you have who are your favorite jazz pianists?
I was obsessed with Harry Connick Jr. and he was kind of my gateway into it. And I think sometimes, there are a lot of music nerds who are maybe quick to write him off because he's not one of the old dudes. That guy's the finest pianist alive. I mean, he was practically raised by the Marsalises, who were the first family of jazz.
Oh yeah, Wynton and Ellis.
And he's like the real deal. And so I think you'll hear a lot of his influence in my playing and stuff like that. I love.
Well,
him.
from the outside, not again having no musical education. To me, I was like, oh, I see. This guy's kind of a throwback. He's got like a gimmick, right? And then I took a jazz history class in Santa Barbara, and I had to watch all these videos of his concerts. And when I saw him play the drums, I was like, holy shit, this guy's like a fucking premier drummer.
He's
like,
a nut job, man.
Yeah, he's an incredible drummer. And then, when you hear other legends kind of talk of him, then you realize like, oh, as you just said, he's probably the best living pianist.
Yeah.
You and Kristen share a favorite Harry Connick song?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know that that's my favorite song, but like in high school, we were really into that. Okay. I kind of get more into his style. And that was the one he played for her on the show. And I don't think he had played it in 20 years or something like that.
But did he still crush it?
Oh, yeah, he killed it. Yeah, always.
What a dick.
Yeah.
He's also so good looking. He's incredibly charming, too.
Yeah,
he's got that New Orleans accent.
Right.
Oh, my God. He must have really had a easy way of things.
He's actually got a British accent. It's fake.
Yeah.
It's like he goes off stage and he's like, no, I get more into his, into more of his style. He does this thing. I don't know, he gets into that New Orleans. That kind of I love that. I love that New Orleans thing.
Again, I'm such a layperson that from my perspective, you're a 10 as a musician, and there couldn't be anything more repugnant than being asked to rate yourself. But because I don't know anything, if Harry Connick is a 10, where do you think your skill level is?
God, I don't know.
I would hate to be asked this question, but I have to ask it.
For being able to do what he does, I mean he's the best at what he does. And
right.
So if I'm doing his thing,
yeah.
I'm the best at I'm the best at my thing.
Right.
And so I think I have certain gifts that no other musician.
Would you say that your strength is more creativity than technical playing? Or are they on par?
No, I'd say
because I think you're incredibly creative.
Yeah,
that I can say about you.
I would say I think the creative side of me trumps the ability, but I don't.
Yeah.
But I don't
because
think
you're weird. You're left of center.
I try to be.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of studio, like a lot of pop records the last 5 years, and I feel like it gets kind of, they get kind of antiseptic, and I try to be as creative as I can on them, but it's not usually encouraged, and they want what they want. Yeah, they want inside the box, and you got to. That's a muscle, you got to strengthen that muscle. Did you feel that way on Chips? You got a big studio, you got a bunch of money, and you got and.
Well, when I feel that way is the difference between being a lead in a movie and a supporting character. So if you're a supporting character in a movie, which I often am, you are there to facilitate the lead's storyline. And so it's not necessarily time for you to shine.
You think most of the leads still have a lot of creative room?
Mojo? Well-
no, I mean like they're granted a lot of creative space from the director and stuff. I guess
it's director to director, but there are, it varies so much among actors. Some actors hate to improv, hate to make it their own. They love the text, they want to learn it inside and out, and obviously I respect the hell out of that. I would be bored doing that kind of like as a pursuit of like trying to perfectly execute what the writer thought of 2 years ago. I can admit there's some irony in here because I am sometimes that writer, and then I do want that person to somewhat do what I had imagined in my head. But yeah, I think it all just varies on whatever excites you about the thing. And I imagine for you, what excites you is your little filter, your interpretation of all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I did a movie, as you know, a few years ago.
You acted in a movie.
I acted in a movie.
A George Clooney movie.
I am equally as much of a layman with acting. Not even a layman. I'm not even the same universe as you think you are as a musician.
I think they're actually dead comparable because you've seen a million movies, and all I've done is watched or listened to a million albums. So
I don't know. I think you have more musical ability than you give yourself.
Well, I played the drums.
Kristen used the word tone deaf.
Yeah.
You are not tone deaf.
I may or may not be tone deaf, but I at least am a 3 out of 10 drummer.
Yeah.
And I'm a 1 out of 10 guitar player. What's great is even though I have no skill, I know what it's like to ride the euphoria of having created some melody and use it like a drug. I do know what that feels like.
I think you're also not afraid to say what you. I think because of your peripheral participation in music, you're not afraid to just like what you like, and you don't feel pressured to like what everybody else is liking, and your
hence
taste,
my love for Steely Dan.
Yeah,
my open declaration.
Your taste in music almost intimidates me. You were pulling out deep stuff that I'd never heard. And you said I kind of want something like this for hit and run, and you were pulling out Afro pop that I'm like, what is it? And you just hear something, you're like, I like that, and
Jingo,
right? Yeah.
That was the song.
Those guys are great. But I did. I didn't know that. I had never. I mean, I'd never been.
This is back to your acting.
Yeah,
really quick. It was
acting.
a George Clooney movie.
It was a George Clooney movie. It's called The Ides of March, and
The Ides of March. He directed it, right?
Yeah, he directed it,
and he was in it.
Yeah, he starred in it, and Ryan Gosling was the big deal in that movie, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. It was one of the last movies he did. And Marissa Tomei, Paul Giamatti. It was like
real shitty cast.
All these dudes. I came in and I was playing the piano. I was practicing, warming up for the movie, and I hear that there's a drum set on stage, and I hear the drums start playing. I turn around, and Ryan Gosling's playing drums. I'm like,
oh, really?
Where am I, man?
That is surreal.
And it was surreal. And
was he any good?
Yeah, he sounded good.
He
does
play
some
the
music
drums too.
And I know I didn't see that most recent thing. The jazz. What is it? The jazz?
Oh, La La Land.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
But
I heard he played well.
Yeah.
In it.
Yeah.
And I know he does some music projects on the side. Something Bones.
What a dick.
I don't know. Yeah, he's very creative.
He's also a Formula One race car driver.
Oh, is he really?
No. But nothing would shock me to find out Ryan Gosling.
But they approached the script like that, and they were. I think George Clooney's director probably just said, "I hire the dudes I want, and I let them go."
Yeah,
just don't make me. Any good managers don't make me manage. Just use your talents. And I had a copy of the script, and this was mind blowing to me, and probably not to a professional actor, but. That script was a suggestion at most. And I watched them do this scene 10 times, and it was a conversation. It was a conversation between like 3 or 4 people in this bar, and they just vibed off each other. And it changed dramatically, the dialogue from scene to scene.
Yeah.
And it was like, at the risk of sounding cheesy, it was like watching jazz musicians play. And you have a form, and you have an idea.
You know where you're, in theory, supposed to go.
Yeah, right. You have maybe kind of a destination in mind, and then you just and that's locked in. And they just went to Mars. And there were times when Philip Seymour Hoffman would scream, "I got to take a shit," and would walk off stage. And I think the line was something like, "I got to hit the head," or something like that.
Right.
Like, I got to take a shit. It was crazy, man. And I realized those were deeply talented people.
Yeah. I would say that's the minority of projects, that generally it's not chaos like that. But Parenthood was 6 years of chaos like that. And I used to feel so bad for the guest stars that would come in because we all had all this practice with one another of navigating and staying on story, but going berserk, as you say. And these poor guest stars, they'd have this dialogue that really didn't make any sense anymore. Like they didn't even know where they're supposed to come in because I'm supposed to say I needed a 10-pound bag of potatoes, and then they're lying, right? But I'm not saying that anymore. Right. And I just really, I had a lot of sympathy for those folks.
But man, when you develop like something like that over 5-6 seasons, I mean, you can't, unfortunately, you can't dumb it down to your least common denominator. You gotta go with that. So,
this makes me think of a story. I don't know that this is true. Don't sue me. But apparently, the story I've been told is that David Crusoe on CSI or whatever, where he takes his sunglasses on and off. And apparently from an actor I talked to who did an episode of that, is that he rewrites his dialogue the night before they're shooting. And then when you get there, he hasn't rewritten your dialogue. So you now have all this dialogue that makes no sense whatsoever.
Wow.
And
it's kind of a Brando. Like Brando used to like piss people off like that.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
a thing.
In fact, Jane Fonda was just on Howard Stern last week talking about, he was like, oh, what was it like to work with Brando? And she's like, if I'm being honest, it was miserable because nothing I had made sense anymore. You had to like join his weird little trip.
Yeah, and he put a feather in his hair and be
so
like,
not fair.
This character has a feather in his hair.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, easily it tips from like creative to total arrogance and self-centered narcissism quite easily. There's a very thin line between those two things.
Artist and a psychopath.
But you were on this movie, and then you called me at a certain point, right?
Yeah.
Which you just reminded me of today.
I said, man, if I'm about to go work with George Clooney
With all the legends of Hollywood for my first project.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Thrown into the fire.
Yeah. Your first time ever throwing a football was at the Super Bowl.
right, exactly.
Yeah. I've been invited to play football.
That's kind of what I thought about Taylor Swift when she came out, because I remember a lot of people were saying, "Man, like she's not singing that well," and I was like, "Yeah, that's because most musicians learn to sing in bars for 10 years before they play at Madison Square Garden." But like her first gig,
right?
She like cut her teeth on like Radio City gigs, sprinting. Yeah, exactly. So, and that's kind of what that felt like a little bit. My first acting gig. No, I called you and I said I may as well, call one of the more famous people I know. And I was like, "Do you know Ryan Gosling? Do you know George Clooney?" And I remember you said I have not met either of those guys, and you said, "But I love Ryan Gosling," and I remember you were a fan. And you said, I said, "I don't know, give me 2 seconds of advice going into my first movie gig," and you were like, "They hired you for you, so just be you." Yeah,
which is about the hardest thing you can.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy advice to give and very hard to do.
And you said you got the gig based on what you did. Give them what you gave them. That's what they want.
The auditions for them, and then when you get that, on set's your time. Like you jump through the hoop, the hula
that's
hoop.
True.
And if you don't make that time for you, then none of the experience was for you.
Right.
Of course, the audition's for them.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
You're trying to give them what they want. But once they've hired you, I do think it should be for you. Or there'll be no part of it that is for you.
Well, and a good director would assume that about you too. I mean, they want to give you the ball.
Yeah. I mean, look, in my opinion, what a good director is doing is he's letting the actor be in charge of the moment and making that moment real. But he has his eye on the grander prize, which is the overarching story. So he has to make sure that moment ultimately fits into this big, long arc of a story. So really, the difference between the actor and the director is one has a macro view and one has a micro view.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out
how. In the Steve Jobs movie, he said he conducted the orchestra.
Right.
He said all these, and that was in defense of not being a great computer programmer, and be like, those guys are the violinists, I conduct the orchestra.
Right. I
think that was his thing.
He had a real charming level of arrogance.
Yeah, right.
And quite often when you're acting, you have to make some sacrifices. You have to do some shit that is inauthentic in that moment to service the bigger story. And it always feels a little shitty, but you're there to do that ultimately. So you get this role and you have lines.
No lines.
No lines. You sang. And what song did you sing?
He picked 3, and he picked.
George did.
Yeah, George Clooney did. He was.
Did you find him to be musically proficient? Did he?
Well, his aunt was Rosemary Clooney.
Oh, right.
The iconic jazz singer.
And so he must know all of that.
He was her driver when he was a kid. When he was like 15 or something. He used to drive her around, and he was telling me stories.
Back when you could be a professional livery at 15.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was a driver at 11. And, I know. He said that when he was a kid. I did. I auditioned. I auditioned for the casting company, and I think he went through some videos and he picked mine. They were hanging out. There was this bar called Cliff Bell's that they were hanging out at in town, that they really liked, and I think they got to know the owner a little bit, and I know the owner well, and
because you play gigs there.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he claims that he vouched for me. He said he said to George Clooney, like, hey man, Bob Mervak.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, we're looking at him and a couple other people, and I guess he said something like, hey, who put you in charge of this outfit? Hire Bob Mervak. So he picked out 3 songs, and I did. I kind of picked his brain about Rosemary Clooney. Like every second we had a chance to talk, I talked to him, and he told me some old stories. Because he was like one generation removed from that golden era of jazz musicians, but he was so connected to it because of his aunt. And he picked out 3 songs. He likes having jazz music in his movies. He picked out Angel Eyes.
What's that?
Beautiful old ballad. I've heard Sinatra do it. That was the one I really clung to learn this tune. He smokes during the performance. He coughs during the performance, but it's like great.
The zhuzh.
Yeah. He just kind of goes off the mic and goes, and he's like, and it's great. He's
Kind of
probably
punk rock.
wasted.
Yeah.
And he's just like miserable, but it's a killer song. Do you want to hear? Are we going to do songs?
Yeah,
Here we go.
absolutely. Let me hear.
Let's see if I can remember this. Try to think that love's not around. But it's uncomfortably near. My poor heart ain't gaining any ground. And my angel eyes ain't here. Angel eyes, that old devil sent. They glow unbearably bright. Need I say that my love's misspent? Misspent with angel eyes tonight. So drink up, all you people. Order anything you see. And have fun, all you happy people. The drinks and the laughs on me. Pardon me, but I gotta run. The facts uncommonly clear. I gotta find who's now number one, and why my angel eyes ain't here. Excuse me while I disappear.
I want to have some scotch and some Camel non-filter cigarettes.
Such a scotch and cigarette song, man.
Yeah, that really. I'm gonna have to run straight to a meeting after this.
Right. So he picked that one and 2 other ones, and I learned all those. Let's Get Away From It All, which is another big Sinatra one, and We'll Meet Again, which was like a World War II era. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Like classic American songbook stuff. And he kept saying, every time I would do it, he'd be like, just quieter, quiet, just a little bit quiet, a little.
Oh,
bit
really?
quieter. Yeah, just
Throw it away a little
yeah.
more.
And we did like maybe 4 or 5 takes, and he was like, so good, so good. And he was like, just a little quieter. And he was like, and when he was kind of convincing me to do it slower, I think it was at a point where I felt like, I don't know if I can go quieter than this, man. This is insane. Like I'm willing to, but I don't know if like volume exists at that level. And,
Right.
And he said, he was like, listen, one more. And he said, Diane Reeves wanted to do Lullaby of Birdland all up tempo. And I said, no, man, do it as a ballad. And she said, no, I want to swing it out. She wanted to give it this energy. Because she finally relented and did it as a ballad. And she got, I can't say the F. Can I say?
Oh, you say whatever the fuck you want.
Oh, I thought you really put a
should
cap
probably
on it.
not say the N word, but aside from that, I think you're good to go.
Why?
So Bob, it's 2018.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't say that.
And he said Diane Reeves, and she finally relented and took it as a ballad. She got the fucking Grammy.
Oh, that's what he said.
Yeah, and he was like,
Yeah.
take it quieter. Man.
That's it's hard to argue when
And she
people
did.
roll out facts
He's
like
basically
that.
saying, yo,
Yeah.
I'm the man.
I one time had a project. In fact, the very first script I ever sold, Adam Sandler's company was producing it, Happy Madison, and the then president was this guy Jack Garapito, and we were having some script meeting, and he said, you got to put a monkey in this movie, and I said, I don't think I'm comfortable putting a monkey in the movie, and he said, we put a monkey in the animal, made $90 million, and I'm like, all right, I'll put a monkey in the movie. Like, no matter what note he had for me, he had some reference to a movie they had crushed on. And it's hard to win the argument when they
I don't
roll
have
that
it.
out.
I don't have that kind of weight.
Yeah. One thing I'm always in awe of, because just you were fucking around at the house yesterday, and I said something about the Rolling Stones. Then you immediately just started playing this Rolling Stones song. I would love to know scientifically, neurologically, how on earth do you have all those songs in your head immediately? To me, it would be like having memorized thousands of poems, right?
Yeah, if you love them. I think that's the same way people who
But do you think it's a muscle memory thing? Do you think it's different than like trying to recall a passage in a book? Do you think it's more about like your body knows how to move?
Well, I think I started playing this. And I started doing that, and it was I just liked that. I liked it when I was a kid.
That was a great time for me to bring this up. So
it was like, you remember Mickey Mouse because he had a huge impact on you. You remember whatever your favorite Disney character, and like for that was like,
yeah, but
that kind of piano lick, especially because it was a prominent piano lick in pop music at the time, which was primarily guitar driven. And so you nerd out, like, and I think most pianists would agree with me, like that, like rock. I mean, a lot of pianists don't even get into rock and roll because there's just not as much of a spot. Like, I think I saw some meme where
we were talking about Billy Joel the other day.
Right.
I was like fearful to text you and say like, I forget what song it was I wanted you to check out. I just thought the piano was fucking banging.
Oh,
and I was like,
right.
is it going to be lame of me to say like how great this Billy Joel piano thing was?
He's a killer player, man.
Right?
Yeah.
Is he great?
Yeah, I think he was I think he was kind of one of Harry Connick Jr.'s heroes, actually.
Oh, okay.
Growing up,
because I so often run into this where, like, I'm talking to Kristen, there's some musician I love, and then she'll just point out gently and kindly that technically that person's quite terrible. Like we were. I made you read. There's a very famous, great guitar player, Pat Metheny. He's a jazz musician. And he is a virtuoso, and he's also a scholar of music. And I said to you, have you ever read his critique of Kenny G, which is one of the most mind-scrambling passages you could ever read. I implore you to look it up on the internet.
So quietly abusive of Kenny G.
He is. He goes on a tirade about Kenny G's technique that it's just, I've never heard anyone dress down that much. So at any rate, I often like people that I have no idea if they're actually good or bad. Like I don't know if Kenny G's a good or a bad.
Yeah, I don't get into that though, man.
Alto saxophonist.
If you like him, he's great.
Right. I'm only saying that to say, if you had texted me back, Billy Joel's actually a really shitty piano player, I would just have to accept that. Even though I love it, I would have to accept that he's maybe technically a terrible piano player.
I had this guy come over the other day, and he was a refugee from the Hungarian Revolution back.
Well, don't brag.
I didn't know.
I had You're name dropping a refugee.
And he was like, put a monkey in this song. And he was like, I made $90 million. So it was the Hungarian Revolution. It happened. I think it was like a 6 or 8 day thing in like 1956 or something like that.
Okay.
And he came over here as a kid. And he was just kind of a fascinating dude, and he was this peanut of a man, and he dresses impeccably. Just like everything just fits and is pressed so nicely. And like I'll never be that. And he said, I have this melody in my head, and these lyrics that I wrote, when I was a kid, in the 60s. He never wrote it down. And he's had this melody in his head since like the early 60s. He said, I'm wondering if you could script it out for me. I think he just kind of maybe wants to have this before he dies.
Oh, wow.
Like have it documented. I said, sure, come on over. And he came over and we worked on the song, and
is he humming you the
he's
song?
singing it to me.
He's singing.
And he goes, it's something like, when the flowers bloom, I'll wait for you. And he's a mediocre singer. And by American Idol,
I don't think you should say that about a refugee, but continue.
All refugees are mediocre singers. Check that statistic. By classical, soprano standards or whatever, or by American Idol standards, he's a mediocre singer. But I love that. I mean, there could have been nothing better. It was one of the best things I've done. And
Neil Young's not a good singer,
right? Bob
Dylan's not a good singer.
Yeah, if that were the
matter.
compass that they used,
yes,
most of my heroes would not be.
But I do want to, because I think this is a great time to bring this up, because the whole reason you were playing the Rolling Stone song was that the first 3 years that Kristen and I were together, I had a long-standing hobby of replacing the word dick and balls, replacing lyrics with dick and balls in tons of popular songs. And I would sing them all around the house about dick and balls, sucking dick and balls, whatever it is.
You get super creative with it.
I do. She hated this about me. She thought it was so immature and stupid. And then you were visiting one time, and then we discovered that you too really enjoy replacing lyrics with dick and balls or sucking dick and balls. And when she came into the living room and we were deep into singing like a dick and balls song, something lifted for her. And she no longer hated that I did that. And I felt like it was something about my personality that was really stifling for her. And it didn't even feel right about it. I thought, this is part of me. And then you basically liberated me.
Right,
and gave me a license to forever then sing songs about dick and balls.
I think but does she ever laugh?
But now that because you're her musical idol, and once you approved, all of a sudden I had license to do it.
So all of a sudden this is brilliant.
So so you and I will send each other Christmas songs, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of, honestly, that's what, when do you know somebody's good? Like, I mean, not to throw Kristen under the bus, but if she said, hey, so-and-so is actually not technically a good whatever singer or piano player, is she basing that on her own observation of this person, or is she basing it on a student in music school who told her that, who heard that from a professor who, like, for example, everybody always likes to say that John Williams steals or borrows.
The composer, John
Williams?
The
composer, like the greatest film composer
Jaws.
who ever lived. Yeah. E.T.
That's a memorable one.
Yeah. And
but people say he stole.
He stole from, I think Strauss was his big. In my mind, I always thought I love John Williams, but like there's always that thing, like, does he steal from composers? And I've never actually, but then it occurred to me, I'm listening to stuff, I don't know where it came. Like, as far as I know, this is the most original stuff I've ever heard. I couldn't tell you one classical composer that he stole from, except for that I heard that in college. So
how you frame a comment like that, right? So one version is he stole. A version I could pitch is
he was inspired.
It's incumbent upon you to pass on these great things to a new generation. And the sad thing is, this generation is simply not going to go back and watch Fletch. They're not going to go back and watch Caddyshack. They're not going to watch Smokey and the Bandit. So it's almost incumbent upon you to, of course, do your own version, but to reintroduce that,
right?
Or it's kind of lost. So there's this cyclical nature of all this stuff that I think is beneficial to everyone.
Back to dick and balls.
Yeah. Sorry, I had gotten off topic.
No, my wife will laugh at 1 out of every 10,000 dick and balls rewrites, and I'll do them up and down the hallway all day. Less so since my daughter was born, but I did. But the most recent one she laughed at, and she hadn't laughed, and I'm talking one in one a year,
Right,
maybe,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
makes it
I
all
feel
worth
you.
it because
I feel you.
she hates it
Yeah.
as Kristen does.
Yeah.
Until I conferred genius status upon it. Now Kristen's on board, it sounds like. But the one she laughed at the other day, she particularly doesn't like it when I do it to like Disney's kids movies. that
Oh,
my
sure,
daughter's into.
sure.
But we were doing Moana, and it was something like with the wind and the sail and the nurse behind me, how far I'll go. And I think I did well, I try to suck your balls, but your dick, it blinds me. And now I know. And she couldn't take it, man. She lied. And she said, your dick blinds me? It blinds me?
It could mean so many things, which is
Right,
great about
right.
it. It could be alarmingly large. It could be pale.
So
There's
how
a lot
big
of
is your
things.
dick? Blinding.
Yeah. Well, the only one that I've gotten that she seems to tolerate is the very popular Christmas song. Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.
Oh,
Suck
yeah,
my dick,
yeah.
stroke the shaft, work the balls. Dee-dee. I'll squeeze my bum. Dee-dee-dee. I'll work the shaft, stroke the head, tickle the balls. Dee-dee-dee-dee. The way I get her in.
Hang on your dick and balls. I'm gonna get to know you better.
Oh, if I could sing like you.
It's Christmas.
If I can work my way into buns, like she does think buns is funny, so I try to steer him into like tickle the buns.
Okay, yeah,
squeeze the
that's
buns,
nice.
Don't ignore my buns.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
you sent me a voice memo one time of silver bells. I think it was silver balls. And it was like
stroke my balls, squeeze my balls, tickle my buns, don't ignore them. Pinch the head. A lot of things to do to a dick and balls.
it's starting to
I was
really,
totally
starting to really
unprepared
connect
for
with you.
that.
man.
You were. I was just when I had you on the hook. So one of the last things I want to talk to you about is, and it's going to be very hard for me to navigate this question, but I'm going to take it from my own personal egocentric point of view. If my good friend growing up and I both were super into comedy, and then I did not move to LA, and my friend Aaron Weekly moved and became a highly paid comedian, I would have a very hard time being supportive of that personally and not being jealous or not. It would be one way or another, it would have a pretty huge impact on me. So I'm curious, having grown up with Kristen together, she's not better than you musically, and she has now become super well compensated for that. What effect does that have on you?
I don't know.
Or has it evolved over the years?
How's Aaron Weekly doing?
Well, what's interesting is, so Aaron Weekly, my best friend, and truthfully, still 80% of my sense of humor, 80% of my comedy is Aaron Weekly. It's everything he and I developed from 7th grade till 12th grade. But he never had a desire to do that professionally. So it doesn't seem to be an issue for him.
Right.
Other than it is weird for him that, we both grew up wanting a dune buggy and I have a twin turbo dune buggy. I think that aspect of it is a little weird. Again, I'm just guessing because he's never really voiced anything, but
If I'm, obviously the more noble place to be would be to be proud of her and nothing but happy for it. And my instinct is to say that because that's what I feel like I've always felt. But if there is any jealousy, I've buried it way deep in a place that I find it's best if you ever have any issues of animosity or jealousy, it's best to focus them back inside.
Sure.
And put them down hold them there and never tell anyone about it.
Yeah, your lower GI probably.
Right. No,
Let me be
we
more
weren't after the same thing by any means.
Okay, great. So explain that because
first.
There's a million different responses to this I might expect, which is her level of public figureness might seem like a death sentence to you. So it might not be anything you would want. Again, I'm coming from my own egocentric place where I wanted all that stuff. I wanted to have, large appeal or broad appeal and then make money from that.
Right.
Did you have that desire?
I mean, the rock star thing, like everybody wants to be. It's hard. I mean, I wanted to be a rock star to the point where it's hard to buy that there's anybody that never has that bug.
Oh yeah,
like even if you're a carpenter,
Brad Pitt wants to be Mick Jagger.
If you're a carpenter, you want to be a carpenter on the Star Wars.
Even if
set
you've
or something
accomplished a lot, Barack Obama certainly has a musician he wishes he was. Yeah, you did want to be a rock star.
Yeah, I did want to be a rock star. I think I'm jealous of. I'll hate on. I think Norah Jones is a killer musician. John Mayer is one of my favorite musicians of all time. But I'll hate on them and find things I don't like about them and find inadequacies in their playing and their songwriting and stuff like that. And it's because I'm fucking jealous of them.
Yeah,
and that's why. And
I can super relate.
Consciously, I don't think about it that much, but I know that that's what's there.
Yes,
and I don't think I feel that with Kristen. As far as if I feel any inadequacies about, my success or lack thereof, it's more like I blame myself, and I'm not mad at people around me who've gotten there. But
I want to be clear, like, you are a successful musician. You support your family playing music, which is a humongous win. So I'm not in any way saying you haven't succeeded. I'm just saying that Kristen has succeeded on this pretty unrealistic platform.
Right.
Yeah, so
it's some of that still exists.
I'm
somewhere.
so scared to ask you this, but it's something I wonder.
I think it's terrific.
Yeah,
you've asked me some questions.
I asked you the other night, point blank, were you molested? Which it took you off guard.
Yeah, you've asked me some things. I was like, wow. And then I realized sometimes it's not that you don't want to talk about things; it's just you've never been asked. Because no one in their right mind would ever ask you
if you've been molested, point blank.
But I still don't remember.
You ever put your mom's underwear on as a kid?
Yeah. No, it's not uncomfortable for me to answer at all. In fact, it's cool. It's cool to have a conversation with that because I go through different things as far as like being able to deal with Kristen's celebrity and your celebrity and stuff like that. And you both have two totally different ways of making people comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But a lot of it just depends on me and what my mindset is. And but also I'm here doing a podcast with you, which is great. And that's because I'm friends with Kristen. That's awesome. And also I look at things like, I think about it sometimes. And I don't know if you start to have different definitions of success. And is that because you have different definitions of success, or is it because you're justifying it?
Sure.
And it's probably a little bit of both. But I do remember there was a place we were playing. I was out on tour with a songwriter, and it was up in the mountains, California, this venue. And it's in this old loggers town. And I was playing there, we had just, I think we were either on our way to LA where I was going to see you guys, or we had just left. I can't really remember, but I was playing at this venue, and I was thinking, and for some reason, Kristen, she entered my mind, and I thought she would probably never play this venue and never get a chance to play this venue. And I think it's because I was in love with this place, and I was like, this is
like a romantic,
this is amazing. And the audience was, 50 people or something like that. And it was in this tiny little place. I'd never seen something so thoughtfully decorated. And I don't even get into that, but I was like, wow, just everything about this place is an amazing night. And I hate saying this because Kristen's not competing with me.
Right.
Nor am I consciously competing with her most of the time. But now and then, if I ever, I had this, so I'm ashamed to say it, but I had this moment where it was like, I was justifying that celebrity to myself. And I was saying,
you have something.
Kristen would never. Kristen would never get to come in here and play this gig and remain in relative obscurity.
Yeah.
And get to have the exact same experience I have. I'm sure there's.
I think that's a super normal thought to have. I don't think there's anything negative about that.
But the fact that I would think something like that is indicative that maybe there is some jealousy there. I don't know. It's something like that. So
yeah, and I guess my curiosity is more like, first and foremost, you're not in a cubicle 40 hours a week wishing you could play music professionally.
Yeah.
So you're already like whatever the spectrum is, right? You're already in the 75th percentile because you're doing the thing you love to do for a living.
Right.
So that's goes without saying. But I do wonder if you ever played the game with yourself where you're like, fuck, if I had moved to New York like she did at 18, would I have been on a similar trajectory? And
But I didn't.
You didn't, right? But do you ever play that game with yourself?
I think I'm at a spot where I say I didn't. I think I did used to play that game.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, but-
certainly it's evolved. You're what, 38?
yeah, I'm at 39.
And you have a kid that you love, and you have your wife Izzy who you love. So
Yeah.
you have a great fucking life. So it would be very unbecoming of you to be sitting around going like, fuck, how'd I end up here? Because you ended up somewhere great. But I do wonder if when you were a little bit younger, did you ever think like, fuck, well, the only thing difference between her and I, because there wasn't a skill level difference, was that she moved to New York.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think about it that much.
Okay,
I
good.
think you've just surpassed how much I think about it.
Okay, good.
Or maybe I just don't think about it in that way. I don't know. But the smaller person in me right now, as far in regards to the celebrity and feelings of inadequacy and stuff, is flattered that you even think about me that much.
I do think about you a lot.
And and your amazing life versus my shitty life.
That is not at all what I think, because I don't think the things about our life that are awesome have anything to do with those elements. That us being famous is like, 5% of why our life's great, in my opinion.
For sure. But it is 5%.
Yeah,
And that's great.
absolutely.
Because I kind of had because I have had a little bit of a breakthrough 10 years ago, and I started realizing that that it was okay to want some professional success. Because for a long time I felt, if I'm playing good music, I don't care where I am.
Yeah.
And that's so idealistic. And I did believe that for a long time. And I still believe that when it works, there's nothing better.
Kristen, who basically moved to New York, had to drop out because she went to straight to Broadway. I was in LA for 10 years auditioning and making zero money, and was pretty certain that is how the whole experiment was going to finish and end. And for me, it was, I had a show every Sunday at the Groundlings. And around Thursday or Friday, I'm talking to my friends in Michigan who went another way and have speedboats and houses and kids. And I'm like, I fucking blew it.
Right.
But then I would have that show on Sunday and it would be all this fuel. And I go, no, it doesn't really matter for me. It doesn't matter if I never leave this 1-bedroom apartment in Santa Monica. That show for me fills up the well so much that it doesn't matter.
John Mayer wrote in a song, he said, there's a line, and I think maybe off his new record, where he says, you got a family, but I got my dream. And he's talking to some girl from his past or something like that. And that's cool. And I thought it was arrogant all at the same time.
Sure.
And
any of these topics are so dicey
but he's at a point where he can realize that.
Yeah.
And so I said, and like, I don't talk to Kristen about it too often, but I did ask her yesterday. I was like, was there a point where you're like, yeah, I made it, whatever, which is almost an insensitive question in a way, because it kind of like denies that she's way more multifaceted than that, there's more going on in her life than that. But she didn't think there was really a moment, and she thinks that's more fan imposed stuff, because I brought, I said, the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, that was the definitive moment, and so many stars. And she said, I think that's more a status that's conferred on stars by.
Well, and her in particular, she has an oddly healthy perspective on all of it. I don't know where that came from or why she's that way, but the thing you're circling is this thing that so you've watched American Idol, and we've watched a bunch of seasons of American Idol. And the thing I've always been really jealous of is that those kids, when they have the coming home week, when they whittle it down to whatever it is, like 4 or 5 of them or something, and then they go back to their hometown. And often they get in a parade on a convertible, and they sit in the back of this convertible, and the whole town's cheering for them. And they cry.
I haven't seen any of that.
Oh, I've seen this like a dozen times on American Idol. And they can take it in, they absorb it, and then they start crying, and they feel the feeling of, oh my God, I did it. And every time we see that, I say to Kristen, I'm like, I've never had that sensation. I still feel like the guy trying to get somewhere. It's just my nature, I think. And I've never thought, oh, I did it. I made it. I never had that feeling.
You think those kids really felt that way, though?
I mean, either that or they're like great on-demand fake criers. But they are bawling with this like adoration. And for me, and I've said this in the past, the way I take it all is really dictated on what my own self-esteem is that day. So people in the airport will stop me all the time, and they'll say like, oh, I loved you in this. And then the majority of the time I say to myself, oh, they simply recognize me. And what the fuck else are you supposed to say to me other than that you liked it? They probably hated it, but you can't do that.
Right.
So this person probably hates me, but they
would love it if somebody was that.
Yeah, I probably would. Yeah. It'd be exciting to see how I navigated that.
We had a we had, like, you and Monica have a lot of interesting talks about race, and
yeah,
and
endless. She
she's
would say,
sensitive, and I who knows where the center is and where the truth is, but I think, you know, she's certainly more sensitive than you, and
she has a right to be. She's
right.
Indian,
right?
Yeah,
and I think that. I don't want to say that you're insensitive, but I said, I talked to her yesterday. I said, and most people would be, you know, whatever we're talking about, whatever is potentially offensive.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to become a thing. Like, I don't think you are not offended by things. So
although alternately, I'm super sensitive, like on Twitter. If you say that, like, I looked ugly on something, it really hurts my feelings.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It definitely triggers all my.
Because I think I'm going to think about that often now. Like, if there's a racial conflict that I'm thinking about, and, you know, is this offensive?
You plug
or
me
it?
into it. Monica's rolling her eyes. I'm so sorry. Poor Monica's mic has been confiscated by the amplifier, and it's just not fair. It's bad timing. Back to Kristen. She weirdly, I don't think ever was striving for attention so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think she genuinely loves singing. She genuinely loves acting, and she wasn't filling some hole. I certainly was craving that attention, wanting that attention. And then shortly after getting it, going, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. So let's talk about something you and Kristen both loved and bonded over so much. And I want to set you up to play a song. You guys were both very huge Martin Sexton fans.
Yeah.
Still, I'm sure.
Huge. We'd go see him around the country.
Right. You were basically parrot heads, deadheads, fish people for Martin Sexton. Sex heads. And I have a favorite song of his, and it's escaping me right now. But Martin
You
Sexton.
like Candy.
Yes, I love Candy. Thank you.
It's like asking a guy with a cold to sing like Stevie Wonder.
Oh, really?
Like
I kind of thought a cold would lend itself to
maybe.
Martin Sexton.
Who knows, man? All right. I don't know if I remember this song.
You do.
Hey, little jailbait, tell me a story. Let me bum a smoke and we can chat a while. Wanna hear talk straight, so let me hear a story before you get off and make a change. Hey. Talking about a woman who hasn't felt a day in a while. Talking about a woman who just can't say no. She needs another lover like she needs another dose in her blood, yeah. Talking about a woman I know, Candy. She's so fine. She's shaking on a back street line like a lost angel that longed for this world. Don't usually get emotional, don't usually show my veins, she says. Only when I speak and when I'm making tracks. Sweating's just my mean way to show me where I am. Can you tell me where I need to be? And through those eyes, if she wore her disguise, I'd see through it as they come in from the rain girl, the rain girl. Talking about a woman, she loves me like a dog loves a bone. Talking about a woman I just can't let go. I need another lover like I need another hole in my head. Talking about a woman with no candy. She's so fine. She's shaking on a back street line, yeah. Oh. Like a loose cannon, ashamed to explode. When am I gonna learn to let you go? You're my candy. Ooh. You're my lost angel that long for this world.
Oh my God. Damn. I know. It's fucking infuriating how talented you are.
Oh, get out. Get out.
I mean, it really is. I'm sorry. I don't know that I'm. It's. You want to talk about jealousy? If we know anyone in our circle who I'm madly jealous of, I would fucking kill to be able to open my mouth and let that come out of my being.
So nice.
It's so intoxicating. It's such a superpower. I'm so into it.
Thanks, man.
Oh yeah. So yesterday you created a song with the help of my 3-year-old Delta.
No, she created a song with the help of me.
All right, because it's so modest of you to defer. Yeah. So what happened?
She said, "Oops, I farted."
Right. Yeah.
And that was-
she does
and that
a
was
lot.
kind of the- yeah.
Like her old man.
Yeah,
Nice
who
and
doesn't,
gassy. Yeah. Who doesn't, man?
That was kind of like it sparked something
Yeah.
in the
It
room.
woke you
I
up
felt like the
creatively.
molecules in the room chain. That was like, it was that song wrote itself. We were just
They say the
I
great
felt like-
ones do, right?
Yeah, I felt like Delta and I were just the vessel through which that song came.
Passed.
It was already written. It's been written for 100 years. Okay, here it goes.
It's been written for 100 years.
It's a nice round number. Oopsies, oopsies, oopsies. Oopsies, oopsies, oopsies. Oopsies, oopsies, oopsies. I farted. I farted. Oopsies, oopsies, oopsies. Oopsies, oopsies, oopsies. Oopsies, oopsies, oopsies. I farted. I farted. I farted. I farted.
Oh my God. I mean, it could be a hit fucking song.
In 10 seconds, that happened.
Yeah, that happened, as Monica's saying, in 10 seconds. And I'm gonna steer my boat into the saccharine territory. But I want to be sincere in this. I have never witnessed anything like when you're in our living room and my girls are singing with you, in the way that you can incorporate the whole environment and turn it into this experience. I just am so grateful for it. I'm so glad you're in our life, and you've, every time you're here, we join the Bob train. This musical bubble you live in, and you invite us into it, and it is it's such a great gift. I'm sorry for everyone who doesn't have a Bob Mervak in their life, and I think like people like Bill Gates should hire you for $1 billion to just come in and weave the fabric of their family into this
I'm
surreal experience.
available.
Yeah, so if you're
For Bill
listening,
Gates, that gig.
I'm sure Bill Gates is listening.
Right.
Oh, one more thing, Monica.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
I should have started by saying the Armchair Expert theme song. Oh, God. And I never tire of it. I get sick of my own voice, but fuck, that song could play 24/7 for me.
I should mention the guys who recorded that. It's Takashi Io on bass and Rick Beeman on drums, Keith Kaminsky and Mark Byerly on tenor sax and trumpet, respectively, and Brian Riley, who engineered that session. And they were killer. They were.
Yeah.
I still don't think I paid Keith for the gig. I need to pay him this weekend or something like that. Man. But,
Just take something from our house while you're there.
all right, cool.
Something you deem to have some value, and then just bestow it onto him. But that theme song is the perfect example of your and I's working relationship, which is occasionally in a movie when you cast somebody, you have this idea, and then they just fucking blow whatever idea you had out of your. For me and Chips, Adam Brody, it was like his role was almost a placeholder of the guy to give information. Just every time he acted, I was like, holy shit, thank you for making this incredible thing. It's so fun. So yeah, you know, I give you I can't even remember the stupid broad strokes I was saying to you, like sincere yet fun, blah, blah, blah. And then you come back with this, and it just makes me so happy.
I think we're like-minded too. And I'm really glad because I don't think everybody would have dug that.
No, I'm a Bob Mervak fan. I liked every version, and then this one would just
And that was
happen to be
awesome
the
what you
best.
said about the living room. That makes it feel like a family, and that's really cool. And
Don't die, okay?
okay. And I do think I have a thing with Kristen. It's since we've always played music together, and it's just like when we get into something. But I do think I have an effect on her, and she's most definitely got an effect.
Oh,
on
when
me.
you guys get together, it is definitely like the Shel Silverstein missing piece thing. Like
Yeah.
you guys click into this shared identity, which again is very much what Aaron Weekly and I had, which is like we were one person.
Yeah.
And she's so confident around you. I can see her love music 10 times more when you're around. And
That's awesome.
yeah. So why don't you take us out with whatever your favorite song is to play?
My favorite song to play.
I know that's a lot of pressure.
Oh, something
Yeah. That would
I
be
can do
great.
that.
Yeah. Can we afford that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Call ASCAP.
Fucking Monica's crushing, by the way. She just reminded us about farting. She reminded us that you wrote the theme song, and now she's reminding me to be a good host and have you play your own song.
This will be
without Monica, we would be adrift at sea. Thank you.
This is actually appropriate. This was the first song I ever wrote, and this was about a girl who broke my heart. And this was the girl who I started dating in high school when Kristen went out of town.
Right. Had she never taken a trip, who knows? We wouldn't have this song.
Right, we wouldn't have this song. It's great to know the origin stories of iconic.
I'm going to thank her
pieces
when
like
I walk
this.
in the door.
I don't know if I'll write a melody that'll make you cry. But if the truth's gonna ever come out, then I just might. Well, I know words can get in the way. Lord knows I've said too much. But if there's something I can do that's gonna make you stay one more night, I just might. But you know I changed my tune in the third movement. But sometimes I can't tell how it's gonna hurt when there's no room for improvement and you're gone. Just the same, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. You and I will never be anything anymore, and well, I don't know where to go, and I don't know what to do, but to sit here and think about you. But you know, I just can't help thinking that the next chance is gonna be the one, or that if I change my life, you'll come running along. Or that one day we'll both be crying at the same song and you'll hear my voice. But for now, all I can say is I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. And I hope your angel's shining bright. And I hope you're well, you know my smile's hurt for so long, but I think I'm coming round to something real. I took a deep breath and thought of you and cried until I drowned. And now this is how I feel. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. Goodbye.
You know, side note, to have a fucking outlet when you're young and you have a heartbreak, the fact that you can use that to create something, like your average 18-year-old, they have a bar.
Yeah, it's
that's
true.
what they do. You go to the bar with all those feelings, and you maybe turn that into a fist fight or
underage
peel out, leaving
drinking.
the parking lot. Well, and driving apparently, and feeling out.
That's what I advocate for. Yeah, that was an honest one. I remember that was an honest one at the time.
Yeah.
That was my gateway into songwriting, and it was a real one. I've always dug the real songs. My father-in-law bust my balls about being too emotional.
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, my feelings, my feelings."
Bob, thanks for coming and sharing your superpower with us.
I'm tickled to be here.
I love you.
I love you.
Good night. Stay tuned if you'd like to hear my good friend and producer Monica Padman point out the many errors in the podcast you just heard. Monica Padman, Bob Mervak was just on, and I bet it was hard for you to even fact check, because when we left that conversation, you said to me, what'd you say about Bob?
I said, he's the most talented person I've ever met in real life.
Yeah, and that just made me so happy, because I feel the same way about Bob. And I mentioned it during the podcast, but again, he was very, very sick. So his voice normally is even 5 times better. He's a phenom, and we love him. What did he say that we can embarrass him with
Very
now?
quick.
Oh, it's a quick one.
Very quick fact check. So Kristen was on the homecoming court.
Oh.
We were a little dicey on whether or not she was on the homecoming court, and I clarified, and she was. She did not win.
Okay, good.
She doesn't deserve to win.
But where did you find this? You didn't ask her.
I asked her.
Oh, that's
Listen.
and I say this with love. I would step in front of 1,000 trains for her. The mother of my children. She's perfect. Her memory is useless. So I wish you would have like consulted her yearbook or something.
Well, listen.
She went to that phony baloney high school though. They probably didn't even have a yearbook.
No, this is what happened when Bob was talking about it. I said, wait, wasn't she on the homecoming court? Because I remember seeing pictures
Oh, okay.
from my perfect memory.
Okay. Right.
And then I decided to just corroborate. And so I double checked with her and she said the same. And you're right. If she is, she's
It's about
not,
a 50-50 shot.
she's not all that reliable in her memory, but
Yeah. In so many other ways. Again,
In
America,
all
I
the
just
other ways.
love her. She's so
yeah,
nice.
we know you love
yeah,
her.
yeah.
I love her too.
But her memories for the fucking birds. They really, I mean, where it really hits home is just the idea that she's forgotten about full vacations we've taken. You know, that's a little rough to stomach initially.
I mean, was it a bad vacation?
No, that's what makes it sad. Is it was like a very nice, memorable, fun vacation that you'd hope to reflect on a porch on a farm when you're retired. But that'll just be me explaining to her where we went, and she'll have to rely on me for me to go, you were really happy, like you loved this vacation.
Yeah, I hope she remembers our previous vacation from this year.
Again, yes, exactly. So we all went on a vacation, a lover's retreat.
We did.
The two children, Monica, Bell, and I, we went to beaches in Turks and Caicos. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
How sad will you be when in 5 months you go, oh, wasn't it fun? We were watching Peaky Blinders, and she's like,
we had couples massages.
yeah, you and her
and I.
had couples massages. That she won't remember any of that. Isn't that a little bit heartbreaking?
Yeah, but I have the memory for all three of us.
Yeah, and ultimately, it really is only about your memory. What the fuck do you care
Yeah,
if
who
someone
cares?
else? Yeah, memory. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But she was on the homecoming court. The Harry Connick Jr. song that Kristen loved and Bob played a lot in high school is called Booker.
Oh, okay.
People want to go check that song out.
I wish legally we could just play it right now because it would be promoting him, but we
Oh.
can't do that. We'd owe someone money.
But you can look it up on iTunes.
It's an impressive display of pianic ability. Not a
Yeah.
word, but should be pianic prowess.
Sure.
Sure.
And then when Kristen was on that show, Harry Connick Jr. played
played it for her.
in person. Which is a
Ugh,
big
what
deal.
a brat.
Mm-hmm.
She probably won't remember that in a couple. No, she'll always remember that because it's music.
Yeah.
Anything music related, it's there.
Bob mentioned that Ryan Gosling has some music projects on the side when you guys were talking about La La Land.
Mm-hmm.
And he had said, oh, it's something Bones or something. And Ryan Gosling is one half of a rock duo called Dead Man's Bones
Oh, okay.
with his friend Zach Shields.
Is he dead, Zach?
No.
Oh,
Oh, maybe
Dead
maybe
Man's
it's a
Bones.
ghost in him.
Okay.
And they've had one album released in 2009 called Dead Man's Bones.
Did you listen to it?
No.
Oh, I wish you would have, so you
I
could
will.
tell me whether it would be hard for me to like it. You know, another actor who had a musical project that few people know about is Robert Downey. Before Iron Man had an album that I loved.
Oh.
My God, did I love it. You know, I had those reoccurring dreams about him and everything. So that probably fed into it, but he has a fucking awesome voice. Have you ever heard him sing with Sting?
No.
Oh my God, he sings with Sting. It's outrageous.
Wow.
It's
What's the genre?
of his music.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's hard to kind of pinpoint, and that's probably why it wasn't gigantically successful. He had one of his songs was on the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang soundtrack, but it's kind of jazz. You know, it's a little bit jazz. This is a negative word to use with it, but a little new agey, jazzy feel. But it's tremendous. But anyways, what I was going to say about Ryan Gosling, because I'm jealous of him. I'm not jealous of Robert Downey Jr. I look up to him and worship him like a deity. But Ryan Gosling, I'm jealous of. Okay.
Can you clarify the difference? Why?
Well, I think one's much older than me, you know, and one's younger than me. So it's threatening. Like I look at Downey as an elder statesman in my life. Like I was a kid when I saw him in
And you couldn't have been in things he was in.
could have never been in them. He's of a different era. Even though we're only like, I don't know, 9 years apart or something, but when he was in Weird Science, he was his tiniest role, and I was just fucking straight target lock on him.
Glued.
So drawn to him.
Mm-hmm.
I just love him. And Ryan Gosling's more like, I'm already working. Now this guy comes out of nowhere. He's fucking great. He's better than me.
So good.
He is so good looking.
Yeah, he is.
I've talked about this stupid identity I carved out for myself where I thought I was a macho because I rode motorcycles and stuff.
Yeah.
This guy, by my estimation, he came out of like Disney. I think he was on the Mickey Mouse Club.
He was on Mickey Mouse
So
Club.
like my worst nightmare would be guys would find out I was on the Mickey Mouse Club show, right? From the identity I was trying to carve out as someone who fought a lot and rode motorcycles. And here's a guy that proves that you're way more appealing by just being a nice source of bright light.
This is what we were just talking about. You realize that. We were just talking about, on another fact check,
Okay.
about a cappella groups.
Okay. Don't use this.
Should I read all
me.
the a cappella groups from?
No.
Oh.
We've said enough about the product. Yeah, so for a guy to take a completely opposite approach as you've taken in life and then yield all these amazing results, of course, I'm just jealous of him.
Yeah, of course.
And then I'm going to really deep dive this. What scares me is someone will hear this and they'll only report one part of this sentence to him and he'll think I was bad mouthing him, which I'm not because I'm in awe of his talent.
No, he's perfect.
But the other, so I thought he was so brilliant in Half Nelson. If you've never seen that movie, I mean, what a performance. It blew my mind. I'm like, this guy is it. Then I saw him in a couple movies where I thought he was just too busy, too flashy, too big of a crazy jacket, crazy hair, too many tattoos, right?
Okay. Things that might not have been his decision.
No, I think they're definitely driven by him because I've been in those situations. You're talking to the director, I think it'd be cool if he had this, this, and this. And certainly I think he made a lot of these choices. But then if I'm super honest about that, it's because I've done some stupid shit in my career where I was just trying to get a ton of attention.
Sure.
And so I'm naturally assuming I'm projecting that he too is a bottomless pit of approval.
Yeah.
And then so I'm hard on him for making similar dumb choices
Yeah.
I've made.
We really just do that all the time. We just see the things in other people
That we hate about ourselves.
Yeah.
And then the list for me is long. That's why there's so many people I could make the same speech about, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just jealous of them.
Yeah.
But anyway, so all that in summation was his music would have to be really fucking great for me to concede that it was great because I'm jealous of him. Downey probably could have been half good and I would have loved it. And here, this kid would have to be extra good for me to like it because he's so gifted and gorgeous.
Yeah. Okay. Bob said that George Clooney likes to put jazz music in his movies.
Okay.
And he mentioned Good Night and Good Luck, but couldn't remember the other one. And he does have jazz songs in both of the movies he's directed before Ides of March, the one that Bob was in.
Confessions of a
Dangerous Mind and Leatherheads. They both have jazz music.
Even Leatherheads.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but it didn't seem like a jazzy type movie.
Yeah, but it was set in.
It was period.
Yeah,
They had leather
it was a
helmets.
period piece.
All I can remember from the trailer is Krasinski wearing a leather helmet.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I had a movie poster of that in my room.
Get out of here.
Of course I did.
Oh my God. Let's go over your crushes really quick. Your number 1, 2, and
We
3
have a couple
crushes. But Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are
Number 1.
They're tied for number 1.
Tied for number 1 for life.
Yeah, and your goggles for them, it's just the best. It's so it doesn't matter what they do.
It does matter. They do the right thing always.
Okay, there you go. That's right. One of
I enjoy them.
Yeah, even if one of them was like showed up on a red carpet, very puking. They just pulled him out of a river. You'd be like, look at that. That's how you do
Take
a
'em
red
home.
carpet. Yeah. Sorry, we're distracted.
We really are.
off track.
We got really off track. Anyway, I had a movie poster and they were wearing helmets. So
Leather helmets.
Yeah.
Leatherheads.
Bob is talking about this person he had over who was a part of the Hungarian Revolution.
Mm.
And he said it was a 6 or 8 day thing in 1956. And he was half right about that, which I find
That's good.
pretty good.
If you can be 30% right, you're crushing.
They're doing great. The Hungarian Revolution was in 1956, but it lasted from October 23rd to November 10th. So it was a bit longer than 5 to 6
17 days or 18 days.
Yeah, it was.
Do you like how quickly I do math?
Yeah, but
Or
then
is
it makes me
some
feel nervous because then I feel like, oh, I got to check it, and I can't check it that quickly.
But you said 23rd, right? So
Yeah.
7 days to 30.
Yeah.
Now we're into a new month plus 10.
Yeah, but October has 31 days.
Yeah, that's why I said 17 or 18. Because I don't know how many days are in October, but I know it's going to be 30
That's
or
good.
31 because it's not February.
18.
Yeah.
Great.
Wow, so no wonder
Great
he
math
said
lesson.
8 because it was 18. So he had the 8.
Yeah,
He
he
had
said
the
6 or 8.
He said 6 or 8. So yeah, I'm going to give it to him still.
And that was a nationwide revolt against the government of the Hungarian People's Republic and its Soviet-imposed policies. Revolution.
Yeah, that whole block over there was real busy
Rough.
with Soviet stuff and communists and
Yeah.
the Cold War. And what else we got?
Okay, last one.
Okay.
It's a soft fact.
Oh, okay.
You said the new generation is not going to go back and watch like old classics like Fletch, Caddyshack, and Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's true. I think there are classics that people still see, young people. I will be very honest and say I haven't seen any of those 3 movies.
And let me just put a qualifier on there. You're a fucking comedian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
So if you haven't seen them, how on earth who's someone who's not obsessed with comedy going to go see those?
I know, but I have a big
Crush on
Big-
that.
I spent my every minute I had watching Good Will Hunting on repeat, so I didn't have much time to watch Fletch, Cat, and Caddyshack. Okay?
Right.
So I'm a weird case.
Yeah. You also were studying a lot. You got perfect grades.
I was.
Some people are
studying some.
lazier.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now that makes me mad at you. I can accept that you got a 4.0 if I knew you worked hard, but if you just tell me you phoned it in and got a 4.0, then I'm going
high
to naturally hate you
school.
just like, what's his name?
Just like Ryan Gosling.
Right, yes. I'm going
I'm-
to put you in my Rosling guy. And if you ever have a fucking band, it had better be as good as the Rolling Stones for me to just think it's as good as REO Speedwagon.
First of all, I'm very happy to be included in any category that Ryan Gosling is a part
Okay.
of. So I feel good about that. Second, I did not get a 4.0 in high school.
You got a
In college,
3.999.
No, I got
Yeah.
something in high school that I don't remember, but was high, but was not a 4.0.
Okay, but in college, 4.0.
I got 1B
Oh,
plus
okay.
89.9. Wouldn't round
I
up.
was high. I was in
know,
the
but-
3.7 range, I think.
Yeah.
Whatever magna
You're
cum laude
smart.
was. I don't even say the word right, but I got it. How do you say it?
Magna cum laude day.
Right. Say the laude
Cum
part.
laude.
That's a weird word.
I say that.
They should give that award to anyone who can pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
That's it for Bob Mervak.
Yeah.
Sorry that we took up most of Bob's time with Ryan Gosling musings and Robert Downey Jr. musings, but such is the way of
I don't think
this
you need
river.
to apologize. I don't apologize for the amount of time we took up talking about Ben and Matt.
No, we need to do a whole standalone episode about the many ways you've demonstrated your obsession for them. And yeah,
Sure.
I'm split, by the way. I half of me wants to cash in all my cultural capital and get them to have dinner with you for your birthday because it would make your dreams come true. But then the other half of me is like, they're just real people, so you're gonna probably be bummed.
But look,
Like my obsession with Natalie Portman, there's just no way that she could have delivered
yeah.
my obsession with her.
Yeah. And we've also discussed that I don't find famous people interesting anymore
Okay.
by their fame.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But I still am in love with them. You're not giving that as much credit as you should.
Look, I only suggest that may happen because I've been there myself.
All right.
I
Let's
would
just
have
see.
I would have in my senior year of high school, I would have cut off some of my toes or fingers to go on a date with Nev Campbell.
Oh,
I mean, I used to watch Party of Five and my heart hurt
I love that
so
show.
bad for her. It was like painful for me to watch that show. I loved her
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
And then I met her and she's pretty and nice. She's wonderful, but she's not the character on the show.
I know.
You know?
They can't live up.
And those guys are not in Good Will Hunting. I mean, Matt Damon, as smart as he is not that smart. You know, he's
He
not
is.
as smart as Will Hunting.
Oh, yeah. He's not a bona fide genius.
Correct,
probably,
a
but
savant.
He's very smart because I've watched so many YouTube videos. I can't even tell you.
And you went
Before
to-
there was YouTube, I would.
And did
I
he
would
go to
VHS
Harvard?
tape. Yeah.
Oh, you went to Harvard.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
smart.
Well, that's cool. Natalie Portman went to Harvard too.
I know.
Yeah. All right. Go to Harvard. Goodbye.